how did, respectfully, a veteran Australian coach end up as the coach of Iraq?
Yeah, look, obviously I did the Socceroos in Australia for 6 years, and I just felt my time was up there. So I resigned after, the first phase of the World Cup qualifiers, and I just felt that my voice had become a bit stale to the players, and I lost the passion for the job. And I think it's like anyone in anything in life, if you're working and you don't have the passion, you'll never do a great job. And even in a relationship, if you don't have that passion, then the relationship will fall apart. But I just felt that I'd had enough with Australia, and then I had a good 6 months to 8 months break. And then all of a sudden I got this random phone call out of nowhere that Iraq had sacked their manager, Casas, and they were asking me if I was interested in the job. And, at first, obviously, there is this misperception, if I can say that, about Iraq as a country, because I've lived there for 8 months, and it's, much better than the Western world thinks. But also, most important thing for me was, looking at their players and looking at whether they were good enough to qualify for a World Cup. And I did believe that they could do that. And that was the main reason I took the job on.
Graham, now, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I definitely can tell when someone's been out in the sun. Judging by just the sun-kissed face and the big smile of yours, you seem to be out in a very, very sunny place. And I think you're joining us from beautiful Spain. So given that you're in Spain, how are preparations going for the World Cup? We're almost, just over 2 weeks away, no?
Yeah, well, we're only 4 days away from announcing, with the FIFA rules, we're going to announce the squad on June 1. So I brought in some extra players to test and try, because I've only been in the job here with Iraq for 10 months and getting to know the players. So I relied heavily on consistently the same squad to get us through to the World Cup. And they did a fantastic job in the end. They had a lot of heartbreak on the way, but we're in a great training facility here in Girona in Spain. We've been here for 4 days, working the players extremely hard. So all the European-based players in the squad, because we've pretty much got a 50-50 squad of European-based players that are Iraqis, but also the boys that play in Iraq. So we're here together as one. As I said, in a fantastic training facility, working the players extremely hard to make sure they're fit and they're ready. And so far, so good. And we've got a game tomorrow night against Andorra here in Girona, and then we fly to La Coruña, where we're going to have a great privilege of playing Spain in La Coruña on next week. So it'll be a great preparation for us.
Graham, you talk about getting to know your players, but you also took the decision to move yourself to Baghdad as soon as possible, to immerse yourself into the culture and to find out about the people. What made you do that, and what have you learned from that?
Well, I had in my contract I could come and go, and I didn't have to live there. And I felt pretty much after the first camp, we played South Korea. We lost 2-0. We had a player sent off after 23 minutes, and we beat Jordan to get that playoff spot. And I just felt that if I didn't invest my time into living over there to learn the culture and to learn the Middle East and the Arabic way, then I didn't think then I was doing the right thing by the country of Iraq and to qualify them for the World Cup. And so I had to learn very quickly how they are as people. I couldn't change all the Iraqi boys and staff from Iraqis to Australians. I had to adjust and change my ways to the Iraqi ways in certain things, but on the field and the discipline side of things, off the field in a football sense, I had to get my messages across on what it takes to qualify for a World Cup. And I have to say the boys have been fantastic since I've done that. So it was it was a learning curve for me to, go to Iraq initially where, it's so hot and, they have breakfast at about midday, lunch at 5 p.m. and they have dinner at 11 o'clock at night, and sometimes they play their local club games at 11 p.m. at night.
Wow.
Out of the heat, out of the sun. So it was all about, okay, how do I adjust my training programs and my training sessions to that, the way that they are. I have adjusted their sleeping patterns a little bit differently, but I just had to learn how their culture was because, as I said, I felt that if I didn't do that and invest my time into it, we would never have qualified.
I want to try and get a sense of the expectation in the country. Iraqis are very proud people, and they've only ever been to one World Cup. They've scored one goal, and they haven't had a point so far. And you've got, I think it's fair to say, something of a challenging group. Senegal, France and Norway. So tell us about the expectation and what your hopes are.
Yeah, look, I think that obviously we're in a very, very tough group, probably the toughest group at the World Cup. But, you can take it two ways. And I've already said it to the players in camp here. How are we going to... The mentality of when you walk on the field is everything. It's about the belief in yourself, and it's about the belief in the group of what we can do. And when you walk across that white line, are you scared or are you excited to play? Because what I need is players that want to be out there and they're excited to play, and they're excited to go and represent their country of Iraq. The expectations probably in most of the countries in the world is that we probably won't win a game. But for me, I've always believed in in what we do. And as I said, it's a matter of me getting the best out of these players. And we've got players that honestly will fight to the death for the country of Iraq. And if that's one thing that they do and do very well, is they're fighters. And so we'll go out there in every game, starting off with Norway, of course. We straight away, it's one game at a time. We will focus on the Norway game, and we're going out there to do the country of Iraq proud.
Well said, Graham. Now, at the World Cup, especially this World Cup in particular, I think one of the biggest things we're all going to be beneficiaries of is learning the stories and the journeys of every single team that's gotten to this point. And the Iraqi team and your Iraqi national team has definitely had a journey and your story of your own. Can you enlighten us and just give us some background into what it took to get just to the Confederation playoffs and even to the World Cup? Because you guys have had to jump through some hoops just to get to this World Cup.
Well, if I can just give it, I'll try and cut it shorter, but just for myself, since I've been in the job, there's been 2 wars in the Middle East, and both times I've had to be, both times the airspace has been shut down in Iraq, and I've had to go in a car, driven down to Kuwait, which is about an 8 or 9 hour drive one time. For the players, I got stuck in Dubai, so I couldn't get back to Baghdad at all, and my players and staff were there. So, for example, before the Monterrey game, before we played Bolivia, I was requesting to FIFA to postpone the game because the airspace was shut and the war was going on and the players couldn't get out of the Middle East. Fortunately, they were able to do that with a 28-hour bus trip from Baghdad to Amman in Jordan. When they got to Jordan, they were in a hotel with missiles and everything going off around them. And the flight got delayed, so they were stuck in Jordan for about 36 hours. And then finally, FIFA were able to get the plane into Amman in Jordan to get the players out, and a 24-hour flight to Monterrey, Mexico. So the preparation for that game, fortunately, we were able to play the 7 days later. The boys didn't get into camp until the Wednesday or the Thursday. But again, it was something that I said to the players straight away, and we had great support from the Iraqi fans in the US from over that way, and that came to the game. And it was more about, are you going to use the war as an excuse for us not qualifying, or are you going to use it for motivation to do the Middle East proud? And they took that really well. And I banned them from social media, like I always do, because social media is just full of negativity, and especially in Iraq. And so it was more about making sure that mentally the boys were ready to go, and they did a great job against Bolivia.
Wow, Graham, I mean, talk about coming over all odds. That's an extraordinary tale. Lastly, give us an idea. What would it mean, and I don't know if you've dared to dream, what would it mean to you and to the group of players and the nation if somehow you could get out of the toughest group at the World Cup?
A miracle. But, as I said, it's a belief that you build it within the squad and the team. And, you know, it's a privilege to play against Norway, and it's a privilege, honestly, the greatest privilege to play against France. And obviously Senegal, the African champions. But it's 11 v 11, it's 1 against 1. And if you're mentally ready for it, I've seen, as you guys have seen over the years, there's always been, you know, shocks of results in every sport. So if you're mentally prepared and you're mentally ready, and you have that belief in yourself and the group, we can go out and we don't have the pressure on us. All the pressure is on the opponents, and we go out there and we do something special for the country of Iraq, but also for the players themselves that will make them heroes in Iraq for the rest of their lives.